promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Lagos. Good afternoon, and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio. Broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world or wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Guinea's military advances electoral process as Electoral Directorate of Elections releases final voter register for December polls.
Total voters 6,768,458, including 125,271 voters from the diaspora.
Niger records over 100,000 flood victims as of August 28, 2025. In Nigeria, public outcry trails the government's increment of international passport fees.
It simply means that the Nigerian government does not want anybody to get international passport anymore. They want to limit it among the elites and the rich.
Well, for those who travel out often, it's good. But for those who do not, it's just like locking their monies up.
And major demonstration looms in Togo as the majority movement demands the unconditional release of several youths in detention. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
My name is Sankule Janko. We are glad you've joined our broadcast. We begin in Guinea, where the military-led government is taking another significant step forward with less than a month before the constitutional referendum scheduled for September 21, 2025. On Thursday, the General Directorate of Elections, DGE, released the final electoral register for the upcoming December 2025 elections. The document, which lists 6.8 million registered voters, has sparked mixed reactions within the country's political class. Augustine Coley has the details in this report.
The electoral register reveals a total of 6,768,458 registered voters. They are distributed in 23,662 polling stations across the country and the diaspora. According to the register, women represent 52.26% of the electorate, confirming their decisive weight in national democratic life. Conakry with 1.54 million and Kankan 1.52 million come first, followed by Kandia and Zirikore, Bokeh, Farana, Labey, Mahmoud and the diaspora accounting for 125,271 voters. General Ibrahima Kale Konde, the Minister of Territorial Administration, says
Total voters 6,768,458, including 125,271 voters from the diaspora.
Meanwhile, the Chief of Staff of the Prime Minister's office welcomed these reforms, believing that they have enabled Guinea to equip itself for the first time with an electoral register he describes as credible and in line with democratic standards.
This reform clearly expresses the commitment of the CNRD and its president to provide our country with a transparent and permanent electoral register that will not be subject to any dispute.
However, the opposition, united within the living forces, categorically rejects this document. It accuses the military authorities of a tailor-made electoral register intended to lock down the election and reduce the chances of a free and transparent vote.
A report from WDR's Conakry correspondent, General Alpha Ibrahim Balde, voiced by Augustine Coley. Still on electoral matters in Ghana, the opposition New Patriotic Party's NPP presidential primary is heating up as 5 aspirants officially filed their nominations ahead of the January 2026 election. While the spotlight is on former Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia and Asin Central MP Kennedy Ajapong, 3 other contenders have also joined the race to lead the party into the 2028 general elections. WDR has now detailed reports.
The The atmosphere at the NPP headquarters in Accra was carnival-like as hundreds of party faithful gathered to cheer on Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia during the submission of his nomination forms. Supporters dressed in party colors, waved flags and danced as the former vice president declared himself the most prepared candidate.
I am offering myself to be elected as flag bearer because I believe we owe a duty to this party to give her a choice to put forward the most prepared candidate for the 2028 election.
But former Asin Central MP Kennedy Ohene Japong, also filing his nomination, insists he is the only aspirant with both the ideas and creativity to secure victory and rebuild the economy.
Ghanaians are looking for a businessman to create jobs for the youth of this country. We are no more going to listen to rhetorics. Some people say they have ideas. I have both ideas and creativity. I have done it before, and I continue to do it. So if I tell you I'm going to create jobs for you, believe in me.
The Presidential Elections Committee has confirmed that the 5 aspirants, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Kennedy Ohene Japong, Dr. Brian Echampong, Dr. Yawose Duchum, and Engineer Kwabne Japong, have all met the filing deadline. The decisive vote is scheduled for January 31, 2026. The stage is now set for a fierce internal contest as the NPP seeks a flag bearer capable of leading the party back into power in 2028. For WADR, Nadiri Tete, Accra.
Meanwhile, in Togo, the People's Majority Movement DMP is raising concerns of the arrest of several young individuals by state authorities. In a statement released on Wednesday, the political coalition denounced what it described as a series of arbitrary arrests and kidnapping allegedly carried out by security forces. This reaction comes ahead of another demonstration set for Saturday, August 30, to demand the release of those arrested since the end of the 3 days demonstrations held in June 2025. Abdullah Hassan completes the story.
The situation escalated following a press release dated August 25 in which the organization turned the page on Togo, accused authorities of orchestrating a plan to arrest several of its members. Edo Semenon, the group's communications officer, describes the development as a direct threat to civil liberties. This accusation sparked a response from the Dynamics for the Majority of the People DMP coalition. According to DMP, such repressive practices have intensified since the demonstrations held on June 26, 27 and 28, citing several instances of citizens being arrested without warrants. Tagone Sambiri Nwakim is the DMP coordinator.
The Denver calls for an end to the persecution, arrests and imprisonment of Togolese youth. The Dempe unequivocally condemns the arbitrary and illegal arrest and demands the immediate and unconditional release of Mr. Akwete Theodore, abducted on August 14, 2025, and Mr. Asioku Kwame Abese, Amand Kamu Kwame, both abducted between August 20 and 22, 2025.
Meanwhile, the People's Majority Movement is calling on the international community, particularly human rights organizations, to closely monitor and take action regarding the situation in Togo.
The DEM calls on human rights organizations, including Amnesty International, the International Federation for Human Rights, FIDH, and all other relevant organizations present in Togo to take up the cases of these arbitrary detainees and ensure their protection.
Amid this increasingly tense political climate, a new wave of mobilization is underway as artists and influencers have announced plans for another demonstration scheduled for Saturday, August 30, 2025.
Abdullah Hassan with the details of Sylvie Wadrago's report from Lomé.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Crossing over to Nigeria, citizens are reacting to the federal government's decision to double the cost of obtaining international passports. The new fees announced by the Nigerian Immigration Service are set to take effect on September 1st. Our correspondent Usman Omar reports.
From the 1st of September 2025, the cost of obtaining a Nigerian passport will rise sharply. A 32-page passport will now cost 100,000 naira or $66, while the 64-page booklet will be issued at 200,000 naira or $133. The announcement represents a 100% increase from the old fees, a decision that is stirring strong reactions across the country.
I haven't seen a Nigerian person who is going to buy food now with come and start thinking of 100,000 for just 32 pages of a passport.
A passport for 100,000, 32 pages for some Nigerians, they will not even be able to use it.
For me, largely, I think it's because of the economic reality. To be fair to them, everything is high up there. It's a reasonable increment for me.
While many Nigerians say the hike is unfair and insensitive, authorities argue the review will improve service delivery and reduce corruption in passport processing. Migration expert Osatomeri Igbinosun, who is the executive director of Migration Moments with May, says the policy could have far-reaching consequences.
This passport should not be a luxury because it is a lifeline for so many persons, for young Nigerians seeking opportunities abroad, for women and men hoping for a better future, and for returnees even trying to rebuild their lives. This passport is the first and most essential step for everyone who hopes to migrate abroad. Repeated increments in passport fees risk pushing citizens towards irregular options, undermining Nigerians' commitment to safe, orderly and regular migration.
For now, the debate continues as citizens brace for the new charges that will take effect in just a few days. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Omar reporting from Abuja.
Let's turn our attention to the Central Sahel region, particularly in Niger, where more than 100,000 people have been affected by floodings as of August 28, 2025. This latest figure was announced on Thursday, August 28, at the conclusion of a meeting organized by the National Committee for Flood Prevention and Management, CNPGI. The meeting, which marked the third session of the committee, was chaired by Colonel Major Salisu Muhammad Salisu, Minister of Equipment and Infrastructure, and First Vice President of the CNPGI. Christopher Atichu tells us more in this report.
A report made public at the conclusion of the meeting revealed that as of August 28, 2025, floods had impacted 551 neighborhoods and villages across 95 municipalities, affecting a total of 15,175 households or 110,346 individuals throughout the country's 8 regions. According to the same report, as of August 18, 2025, assistance had reached 6,577 households, representing 46,557 individuals. These beneficiaries received 657.7 tons of cereals, including millet, sorghum, corn and rice. Additional support is currently being processed and will be extended to all remaining households not yet assisted. Regarding housing, a resilient house model intended for the most severely affected households was presented to the committee, with the project file currently undergoing standard administrative processing. Colonel Major Salisu Muhammad Salisu, the first Vice President of the Flood Prevention and Management Committee, reassured the public that all necessary measures are being implemented to ensure that aid reaches the intended beneficiaries across all affected regions. As a reminder, in 2024, Niger recorded nearly 400 deaths and 1,501,634 people affected, spanning 203,416 households nationwide.
Christopher Atichu with that report. In neighboring Mali, Catholic schools are facing a challenging period. The faith-based academic institutions may be forced to suspend educational activities for the upcoming academic semester due to the suspension of the Malian government subsidies. The situation, which puts thousands of teachers at risk of unemployment, has ignited growing concern among parents about the future of their children's education. Imo Edit reports.
At least 20 schools may not resume academic activities next October at the start of the school year due to suspension of the Malian government subsidy, which covers 80% of salaries for teachers. This decision weighs heavily on thousands of teachers who have been laid off. They have therefore decided to take the matter to court. Mama Jao is General Secretary of the Our Lady of Niger High School Union.
We were laid off on August 1, but we received identification on August 2nd. We were laid off without our rights, without pay, to acknowledge that we are suffering seriously.
While 3,000 students were affected, parents' concerns are growing just weeks before the start of the school year. Luke Sangare makes no secret of his dismay.
I welcomed it with a lot of bitterness as a parent. It goes beyond disappointment because we thought if this were to happen, what am I going to do concretely? How will my children be able to adapt to the new situation?
Faced with the situation, Father Edmond Dembele, National Director of Catholic Education, nevertheless reassures efforts to address the matter.
Following the review of the agreement that binds Catholic education through the Episcopal Conference to the State of Mali, and therefore in the context of the revision of this contract, they deemed it appropriate to first proceed with the dismissal of staff and according to the new contract that will be proposed to the teachers.
With the suspension of the state funding estimated at more than 2 billion CFA francs, Catholic schools in Mali must now operate on their own resources. However, the trial of the dismissed teachers is scheduled for September 29th.
A report from WDR's Bamako correspondent Ali Cham, voiced by Imo Edit. Well, at the same time, the Malian government has adopted a revised budget for 2025, prioritizing defense and security amid the postponement of elections. More than 157.1 billion CFA francs have been relocated to security operations in the country, strengthening the capabilities of the armed forces and security services. However, the major question looms: how effective is the fight against insecurity in the country, and what are the challenges? Well, Sedik Abba, a specialist in security issues in the Sahel, provides answerable analysis to these questions.
C'est tout à fait normal que le Mali prenne des dispositions pour doter ses forces.
It is quite normal that Mali is making arrangements to equip its armed forces, its defense and security forces with consequent means. The increase in the budget, which is part of a dynamic that we have observed throughout the Sahel since 2011-2012, since an increase of 127% has been documented of security and military spending in the space of the former G5 Sahel, Burkina Faso, Mali, Mauritania, Niger and Chad. There is a sharp increase. And in this context, since it is about equipping defense and security forces with sufficient means, mobility means, aerial means, also rolling means, including armored vehicles, rolling machines, it is not surprising that there is this increase. For me, the mistake would be to consider that we can solve the issue of the Sahel, whether in Mali or elsewhere, by military means only. So it is normal that a country in war increases its resources, but we must now pay attention to the effectiveness of military spending. And we must also pay attention to the fact that in addition to the increase in resources for defense, the non-military aspects of the security challenge in the Sahel must be integrated into the response that the Sahel countries are building in Mali.
Les défis sécuritaires au Sahel soient intégrés dans la réponse que construisent les pays du Sahel, dont le Mali.
Sedik Abba, a specialist in security issues in the Sahel. Well, you're listening to Newslink and West Africa Democracy Radio broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Guinea's military government advances electoral process as General Directorate of Elections releases final voter register for December polls. Nigeria records over 100,000 flood victims as of August 28, 2025. In Nigeria, public outcry trolls the government's increment of international passport fees, and major demonstration looms in Togo as majority movement demands unconditional release of several youths in detention. Still ahead in the news, we also have guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Elsewhere in Liberia, the government's civil service Agency is conducting a nationwide credentials audit targeting all court employees. The exercise, which began on Thursday, was initiated by the newly appointed Chief Justice of Liberia, Kwame Gwebe-Bese, as part of his commitment to verifying the qualifications and authenticity of certifications held by personnel within the country's judicial system. Chief Justice Bese emphasized that the audit aims to promote accountability and integrity across the Liberian judiciary. WDR's Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker reports.
The credential audit, which is being conducted by the Civil Service Agency, aims to ascertain the legitimacy of academic and professional credentials presented by court employees. According to Chief Justice Wese, the process is part of his reforms in making the country's justice system more independent. He added that the audit, when concluded, will strengthen the judiciary and maintain public trust.
This audit, I'm very grateful. Process will help us maintain the highest standards of excellence.
For his part, Civil Service Agency Director General Josiah Joka assured that the agency will independently complete the audit void of personal interest while calling on judiciary workers to cooperate.
I want to assure you that our teams that are deployed here at Central, at the Kingsville Court to take care of all the folks in that bill, at the Ghanafield Court to take care of all the folks, different sets of court employees, will remove them on your behalf.
The ongoing credential audit for judiciary workers is expected to cover all levels of court staff, from clerks and administrative personnel to judiciary officers across all 15 counties of Liberia. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, this guest segment of the Newslink takes us back to Nigeria, where citizens are reacting to the federal government's decision to double the cost of obtaining international passports. The new fees announced by the Nigeria Immigration Service are set to take effect on September 1st. A 32-page passport will now cost 100,000 naira or $66, while the 64-page booklet will be issued at 200,000 naira or $123. Our guest is migration expert Mary Osato, who weighs in on the matter.
Yeah, we all know that apart from being a travel document, your passport is also your identity. As a Nigerian, this shows that you are a Nigerian. I don't think this should be a luxury. If this is our identity, it should not be something that is too expensive for the common man to get. We understand that the government said they want to do this to improve the quality of the passport. Our concern also is the fact that sometime just last year, the passport price was also increased. This year, it's also been increased. Are we going to get surprised again next year, August or September, with another increment? It's not really easy for the young person on the street. There are people who are vulnerable. There are people who need a passport to travel, young students going to the EU region, the UK, or wherever to get education. And as an advocate of safe, orderly, and regular migration, the push factors are enormous. When you speak to those who have returned from the EU region or wherever as returned migrants or people who are being deported back to Nigeria, they'll tell you that the cost of traveling is too much. That's why they chose the irregular migration routes. But now they'll have more reasons to say, you see, guys are coming to advocate for us to use the safe routes, the safer routes. But now again, the passport has just been increased, adding to the many problems that already have as stumbling blocks to traveling.
You just referenced increment from last year to this year, and possibly there could be increment next year. What do you make of this constant increment?
Yeah. So in terms of this constant increment, can the group in charge of this, the technical group, sit and discuss to say, okay, in the next 5 years, there won't be any increment because one we're doing at the moment, because between last year and now is just too close, and 100% increment or even above 100% for the other one is a bit too much. If they can sit now to say, okay, this particular increment we're doing now is this one would last for the next 5 years or the next 10 years, that would make sense, because coming to increase the passport fee within the space of this announcement is made less than a year even, because I think that one was increased when August last year or September last year, barely a year after, and it's been increased again. the technical group, the committee in charge of this review, they can sit to say this increment we are doing now would last for the next 5 years, or whatever standard of passport we are going to be releasing now will be good for the next 5, 10, 15 years. It would make more sense. We don't want to be caught up with surprises on September morning in 2026.
What are your recommendations to the government regarding the continuous increment in the cost of international passports for Nigerians?
Yeah, so this is our passport, this is our identity. It should not be a luxury. Everybody, every Nigerian who wants to get this should be able to afford this. We should not break our bags or burn our hands because we're trying to get the passport. And now that this increment has come to play, those of us that had passport earlier than this time, we should be jealous when we see the new passport with the new standard. And apart from just increasing this price or the quality of the passport, we want to see that Nigerian passport would grow in terms of its worth or its relevance. I saw the index one time, I've forgotten the number where Nigeria is right now, improve the life of Nigerians, improve the country in terms of its development, so that when we tender these high-quality passports somewhere abroad or somewhere, it will be respected. Let our passport have so much value in the international space. Thank you very much.
Mary Osato is a migration expert in Nigeria. Well, in sports, let's begin with athletics because American sprint star Noah Lyles was unstoppable in Zurich on Thursday, powering to victory in the men's 200 meters at the Diamond League final. Lyles soared past the Botswana Olympic champion Letsil Tobago in the final meters to claim the yet another major title, capping off a dominant season on track. Meanwhile, in a thrilling men's 800-meter final, Kenya's Olympic champion Emmanuel Wahonyi edged out Max Bogin in a dramatic sprint finish, winning in 1 minute 42 seconds to retain his Diamond League title. Also, Kenya's Faith Cherotic was in top form Thursday night, storming to victory in the women's 3,000 meter steeplechase at the Diamond League final in Zurich. The Olympic bronze medalist clocked 8 minutes 5.7 seconds to retain her title, building strong momentum ahead of next year's games in Tokyo. In football, Turkey's football giants Galatasaray have officially signed Ivory Coast international Wilfried Singo from AS Monaco in a big money deal worth 30.8 million euros. The Super League champions announced the transfer on Thursday. As of the deal, Monaco will receive 10% of any future resale profit. The 24-year-old right back has spent a 5-year contract with Galatasaray and will earn 4.8 million euros annually. In other news, Fenerbahce has parted ways with Jose Mourinho after the club's Champions League playoff exit to Benfica. The Portuguese coach, who joined in June, lasted just a few months in charge. Despite major transfer backing, Mourinho failed to deliver both in Europe and domestically, falling short in the title race against rivals Galatasaray. The club thanked him for his efforts, while Mourinho hinted at a possible return to Portugal as he looks ahead to his next move. Well, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Ismaila Kamara for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X and Instagram, WDR English, and on Facebook, WDR English Service. Coming up at 1 p.m., my colleague Mustafa Jakite will be here with the news in French, which is Info Chez vous. I am Sankule Janko. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Niba County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Gulf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinion.